The Minister of Planning and Development tells the American Chamber of Trinidad and Tobago's post-budget forum that government achieved some measure of success in the 2016-2017 budget. Camille Robinson Regis also spoke of plans to introduce transfer price legislation. As she said, the PNM inherited a number of problems from the last regime. Mahalia Joseph has more.
As she spoke on government's plan to introduce transfer price legislation, Minister of Planning and Development Camille Robinson Regis said worldwide revenue losses with prices ranging between 4 to 10% from transfers of global corporate income tax revenue was lost.
I want to give the assurance to all gathered here that government's engagement of the Inter-American Center for Tax Administration is to do precisely that, to produce a policy and subsequent legislation which will reduce, if not altogether, given the ingenuity of some of our tax evaders, at least to a trickle this leakage of much-needed government revenue.
Earlier this year, Minister of Finance Colm Imbert explained that transfer pricing is a technique used by multinational companies where they set up dummy corporations in other jurisdictions and then charge large expenses to their operations in countries like Trinidad and Tobago. He said transfer pricing causes a lot of leakage and reduces the tax revenue which a country can collect. Mrs. Robinson Regis said it's time for the Board of Inland Revenue to step up and do their job effectively.
The issue of tax avoidance has been with us for quite some time, and therefore the existence of transfer pricing was as inevitable as, and I hope I don't offend anybody by saying this, but it was as inevitable as another West Indies cricket loss.
Meanwhile, in the question and answer segment, Mrs. Robinson Regis was asked why the public-private mechanism was used for the Kufa Children's Hospital. She said government simply can't run the hospital on its own.
And as a consequence of that, we will be sending out expressions of interest. And what the government will be bringing to the table is the hospital itself. And it will be that we're asking the private sector either as a group, or various entities to use the hospital as a mechanism for bringing hospital services to the public of Trinidad and Tobago.
She also spoke about plans to reform the Central Statistical Office to ensure that the country is provided with up-to-date figures. Mahalia Joseph, C News.